Hello, this is Lindsay of Posture Speaks, and today I am doing a Q&A video. I received a question from a reader of my newsletter, someone on my mailing list who is from Waterloo, Ontario. This question is from Kristen, and Kristen is in her third trimester of pregnancy. So she wanted to know if I have any tips about how to maintain good posture during pregnancy and after having a baby and taking care of the baby. So this is very relevant in the lives of women who are going through this huge change of being pregnant and then having the baby and then caring for the baby. So this topic, it's not specifically about posture and communicating, but it relates to overall well-being, which is a big part of what I work on with women to help support all of the other things that they want to excel in. Looking really at the big picture of how are you taking care of yourself in all aspects of your life. So, Kristen's questions are, first, she says, I'm struggling with posture as my weight changes and as my belly grows, finding it hard to combat the anterior pelvic tilt or waddle. And I'm also just finding it hard to maintain proper posture because I'm so tired from carrying the extra weight. She also asks if I have any breathing tips for the end of pregnancy when shallow breaths are typical from lack of space. And she wants to know how to avoid developing bad habits during the transition from being a parent to caring for an infant. So I'm going to offer some tips that I think will be the most useful to the most people that cover all of those topics. And if you have more specific questions, I suggest you get in touch with me. We could schedule a session to look at those more specific things that would be a little hard for me to give advice on if I actually don't see the person who I'm working with. So these are kind of general posture tips that relate to what happens when you suddenly have all this weight out here. So I've got this ball that weighs 4 kilos. And so I'm just going to hold the ball here and show you what kind of happens. So most people, if they tend to slouch, let's say when they sit, when they stand, they actually kind of slouch backwards and lean back like this. And often the pelvis does go into what's called an anterior tilt, like lifting the tailbone. And the rib cage will kind of lean back like that. So with the weight of the baby, that tends to draw the belly forward, and then the person leans back more, tilts the pelvis more, and it kind of exaggerates that pattern. But often it's a pattern that already exists. So what I'm going to have you try, rather than being a movement or an exercise, it's more of an awareness cue and something I want you to visualize. So I don't want you to tense anything. I don't want you to try to pull yourself up. If you feel tense doing this, stop and start again. It's something I really want you to just visualize. So this weight here is going to be this really strong stimulus to go like this, right? So what I want you to think about instead of focusing maybe directly on how to fix that, we're actually going to look at what's going on above and below where the weight of the baby is. So below, that's your support. That's your feet, your legs, your pelvis. And we often forget we have that support, and we just fall into the lower back as a support. So I really want you to bring your attention to your feet. So if you're standing, bring your attention to your feet and think that your feet are your base of support. And so if you imagine like a glass with a stem and a base, kind of like a wine glass, that your feet are like the base of the glass, and then your legs are kind of like the stem, and then your pelvis is kind of like the bowl part of the glass on the top that's coming up to support the baby. So if you could visualize that support up from the ground, and that the baby isn't just sticking out here, but it's also supported from below. Just thinking this can sometimes relieve some of the strain you might have if you just tend to be falling into this. So in terms of up top, another thing that can contribute to compressing down that also relates to something being heavy. And here again, I've got my 4-kilo ball here. Your head is actually even heavier than this. It's like 6 to 7 kilos, which would be about 10 to 12 pounds. All right. So like I'm holding this up here in my arm. This feels pretty heavy, but my head is heavier than this and it's balanced on top of my spine. So a lot of people kind of go around like this, and that's putting a lot of pressure on the spine, kind of pulling the head down. A simple way to try to reverse that habit is to bring your eye level up and actually be aware that your head is higher than your eyes. So you can think of your head being up here. You could even tap it just to create a little sensation there, and like it's parallel with the ceiling. So that can help bring your eye level up, and it's important to be aware of that your eye level is going up, because we often want to just default to where our eyes are used to being, and if you're used to being here, that's probably where you're going to keep going unless you remind yourself. One quick thing here, when I'm talking about eye level up, I literally mean like up this way, like up like an elevator, not tilting up and looking at the ceiling. So if you just tilted your head, don't do that. Don't tilt your head at all. Just think up. And again, don't create any tension. Don't pull yourself. Don't tighten your abs. Don't hold your breath. If you do this in a way that's just visualizing, you should feel more relaxed, not more tense. So better posture, please keep this in mind. It should feel more relaxed, not tense, not uncomfortable. So really check if you're visualizing this, that you're not holding your breath, that you're not tensing your abs, that you're not creating tension in your mouth or tongue. A lot of people, when they try to focus on something, they press their tongue on the roof of their mouth or tighten their jaw. So really just try to stay relaxed and think of your head staying up and your feet being on the ground. So when it comes to actually carrying the baby once the baby is born, you can keep those same things in mind. It's really the same, except the baby will be in your arms. But if you're holding the baby close to you, you can really think of the ground supporting you and that you're not dropping your head down like this. And again, we don't want to use our back as like a shelf to rest the baby. People often talk about resting the baby on one hip, but often what happens as well is that they lean back, put a lot of pressure on the lower back. So if you do put the baby in your hip, just switch from time to time. Don't stay all on one side, but really pay attention that you're not sinking back here. So if you're holding a baby while sitting, particularly for feeding, for bottle feeding or breastfeeding, you'll probably be sitting for a long time. You might be tired. I can tell you how to hold the baby without getting all sort of scrunched and crunched, but it's also important to have a lot of support. So your best friend will be pillows. So like if you're sitting on a couch, on a bed, put pillows behind you. Like make sure you're not sliding down. Make sure your back is supported by pillows, like from your butt up to your shoulders, that you've really got something on your back. And you could be leaning back a bit. You could be sitting up straight. Just make sure you've got something behind you. Then you want some support under your arms. So again, you could use pillows. There are cushions that are designed specifically for feeding. There are cushions that you can strap around your body, which really hold in place well. I find those are quite effective and really give your arms a rest. The other thing is just how you're using your arms so that you don't scrunch your shoulders when you're holding the baby. So see how I can hold this ball using my arms and hands and I'm not lifting my shoulders up. So you can also pay attention to, as you move your baby, you're just kind of moving at the elbows and not lifting like this. But that can be easier said than done if it's 3 a.m. So please make sure that you have plenty of support for your back and for your arms. So give those a try. Kristen, let me know how it goes. And other specific questions I can address more easily in sessions because I can see specifically what's going on with a specific person. But people can get quite a lot of benefit just from focusing on those cues that I just gave you. So I'd like to also open up to anyone watching this. If you have a question, please send it my way. I will be making regular question and answer videos. And if you'd like to learn more about what I teach, I suggest you check out my free training. That free training is focused specifically on posture when we communicate. And you can find a link to it right below this video. And if you do want to get in touch with me about any of my services, or you have a question you'd like me to answer in a video, feel free to put your question below, or you can contact me through my website. Okay, well, thanks a lot, and I hope you found this helpful. Have a great day.